Okay. I want to introduce now Précilia with the last name from Customer Alliance. There's a great title of this, Foundation of Excellence, AI and the Future of Guest Feedback Management. But what it is about is the people that we meet everywhere in tourism business, they can actually tell you things. And that is what Précilia wants to talk about. Give her a big hand. Thank you.
Is it working? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming here today to listen to me for a tiny bit. I'll promise that won't be too boring. I hope you're not too drunk or hitting food coma. Let's just get ahead. If we can all look at this delicious chocolate cake on the screen right here. Can everyone have a look? Yeah, great. Now, how many of you think they could bake it? No cooks in the room? Come on.
Oh, there was one.
Come on. Glazing doesn't look that hard to reproduce, right? Yeah? All right, now how many of you think they could bake it using only flour, sugar, and eggs? Ah, ambitious. Well, the fact is that without a key ingredient or a recipe, even the best baker would struggle to produce such a delicious result, right? And the same principle applies when you want to understand your guests. Without a key ingredient, your insights will fall short. And here, the key ingredient is data, right? So we all know that understanding your guests is a cornerstone of delivering exceptional experience, services. And typically, we return to traditional survey questions and metrics to try and understand your guests, right? And what would I talk about then? Let's say that you want to get some feedback about your hotel's sustainability initiatives, right? So you might ask your guests to rate your policy on single-use plastic, or how easy was it to understand your recycling program? Well, metrics like customer satisfaction score, known as CSAT, or Net Promoter Score, known as NPS, might provide a very good numerical baseline of guest feedback and loyalty. They have their limitations, because these numbers might not tell you why guests are dissatisfied. They're just numbers. They're not going to tell you which aspects of your initiatives you can improve. And this is when AI comes in handy, because it's going to bridge the gap between quantitative data and qualitative understanding.
I think that AI in this area is actually growing. It's a growing field. And how can you explain a little about the company and how you actually came to this conclusion that start with this?
So as I mentioned before, standard metrics really have got limitations because they don't understand the emotional context and nuances behind guest feedback. Like, for instance, how hard it is to locate your recycling bins on your premises. Numbers won't tell you that. And it won't tell you the suggestions of your guests to improve your sustainable initiatives, right? They're just numbers, again. And this is when we realized that we'd have to go a step further for our customers. And using AI, and why do you use AI, is because when guests comment on your sustainability practices, for instance, AI is going to extract sentiment and emotions behind the actual words, right? And basically, when you use text analytics, AI is going to be able to cluster these themes and tell you which ones are important, which ones you should be focusing on right away. And as you can see on this graph, for instance, the top right corner are topics that are already strength. You shouldn't put too much effort into this, right? Because your guests value these specific topics, of course, service always, sustainability, and you're doing pretty good. But what you want to focus on is the top left corner, because these are key weaknesses that were identified, again, using the text and the feedback to understand what's going good, what's going not so good, but most importantly, what is important for your guests. And as you might notice, maybe in the back you can't really see, but the purple dot right here is the bar. And surprisingly enough, it's an important weakness. So things are just great, and people don't seem to be caring so much about the bar, apparently.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool. I worked as a marketing director for several years, and I can tell you, we spend lots and lots of hours on this without the AI, without this system. So I'm very, very interested in actually, is it possible to implement your system into the existing ones? Because if we are a hotel, you get a lot of numbers. I mean, can you tell us a little about that?
Well, if you want to include AI in a traditional feedback system, it of course requires some technical knowledge. I'm not an engineer myself, so I'm not going to dive into this. I also don't want to bore you to death. But what I can say is that once it's technically implemented in your feedback system, then there's still one challenge that remains, and it's the data again.
Yeah. Can you explain a little more about the challenges you face when you're doing this?
Well, basically, you don't want your feedback and the data that you put into the AI to be only the feedback data from a handful of people. Because you don't really know if these views from that handful of people represent the entire views of your overall customer base. And what you want to be doing is pulling data across different channels. So you also want to rely on feedback that you collect, but you also want to pick on the data that's already out there, how people talk about you on Google, how people talk about you on open channels, and you want to feed this data into the AI so that you can make conscious improvements to your business. So this is how you make sure that your AI is not completely biased and that it doesn't rely on the opinions of 3 random people that left you their feedback.
Yeah, so it's actually about listening in different channels to bring it into your business.
That too, and also obviously having a comprehensive approach to collecting feedback and constantly feeding that AI, because otherwise you're just going to stay at the same level of understanding of what's going on.
It must be really great kind of insights you can have. Do you have any surprising insights, or is there anything you can tell us about?
Maybe one use case of this one small hotel in Italy that realized after collecting survey in their post-stay email, they noticed that the bathrooms were rated quite badly. Then they run an analysis, and turns out that it was mainly related to rooms located on one side of the building. There was some plumbing issue, but just on the one side of the building for some reason. But before they went into renovations and they hired like an architect or whatever, they rebuilt their questionnaire to ask questions specifically about the bathrooms. What would you like? Very open text. How's the ambience right now? How's the light? How many sockets would you want? Are they placed in a spot that makes sense? And running this analysis, they realized that the current state of bathrooms was pretty bad, not modern. And on this graph, for instance, the ambience theme has been marked as green. For them, it was completely red. And from that, they dived in a bit deeper, and then they realized that they should just put better lighting in the bathrooms, and the number of sockets was just ridiculous, and also placed on weird spots. So thanks to these feedbacks that were clustered into themes that make sense, then they managed to know what to focus on for their actual operational renovations of the bathrooms.
Really interesting. Can you have another example how a hotel actually can implement this AI? Or is this the example now? I think you can...
It's one of the examples, but one of the other good things about AI is that it can detect patterns and highlight preferences of your guests. So let's say that another example, you've got a swimming pool, and sometimes the rating of the swimming pool, which is outdoor, varies a lot, and you don't really know why, and you don't want to be analyzing manually what's going on month per month. What AI can do is tell you, hey, every May, year on end, people complain about the temperature of your outdoor pool. So you might want to do something about it. It's not so much about predicting the future. It's just telling you, hey, if you don't fix that problem, every May, people are going to be complaining about it. Just put the temperature a bit high up because people are chilling out there. So I think it's mainly about grouping together the insights that come from text that nobody wants to be reading. Nobody has got that kind of time on their end, and AI can do that for you.
Is it possible to show us or something?
I would have to actually go to the platform.
I just because predicting the future, it must be the best thing we can try to do. We know what happened, but what are going to happen later? Are there many people here? Can you raise a hand if you're using guest feedbacks? Are you? It's not so. Yeah, there are some. Yeah, is it?
Good job.
It's difficult,
doing great.
huh? It's difficult, or I got tons of measurement, key numbers, indicators and everything. And I had to solve out, and after a while I was just looking out and I said, oh, they look happy. So that was good. But that's not what they are talking about here, I think. It's probably much better. So Customer Alliance and you, what more can you give us? Please, something.
What I can leave you with is a 5-step approach of how to start managing your customer feedback and then implement a bit of AI to make it a tiny bit better. So what we need to start with is actually implement a feedback management system and collection system. So you want to have something that's running on autopilot, centralizing all your data, collecting more to build a solid database that you can draw insights from. Then once you have this running, you want to start identifying which areas you need to improve. And this you can do with the standard metrics I talked about, because it's very easy. If your numbers decrease, you know you have to do something about whichever score is decreasing. It's not rocket science. But if you want to know exactly what to do, then would recommend using AI to go a bit more in-depth and analyzing specifically what should be improved right now and having the exact sentiment and context behind these specific topics, and it's going to just cluster them for you so you don't have to think too much about it, and it gives you directions, but directions are nothing if you don't take action. And that's, to me, the most important step, because if you don't do anything, you know, we can give you the data and show it to you, but we're not going to come into your place of business and paint the walls for you. This you have to do yourself. So to go back to a sustainability example, let's imagine that you have a guide for your recycling program in room, and you have a QR code on it so that you can collect feedback. Was it easy to understand? What could you suggest? And for instance, once you move into the second step, you see that there's a decrease and people are unsatisfied about it. And then the AI is going to be the power behind it, telling you, hey, it's actually very hard to locate your recycling bins on your premises. Please do something about it. And then you take action. So maybe you place them in easily accessible areas. Maybe you indicate them a bit more, big arrows. This is plastic. This is paper. Don't mess this up. Okay, Earth is dying. So this is the last step. And once this is done, there's a tiny little bit of effort left, is that you want to do this on a loop. So you want to keep on monitoring these changes. and keep on seeing if there's changes in ratings over time. What are the trends? What should I focus on next? And if I decide to tackle one issue, is it reflecting in my overall satisfaction scores? Are the changes that I implemented making my customers more happy or not? And if not, maybe it was the wrong approach. Maybe I should do something different. So this is what I can probably leave you with. Maybe I can take a couple of questions. If not, I'll be over there and we can have a chat.
But we had a question. They sent it to me mentally. Okay. Okay. Is there any special advice that you can give the audience here? If you are a small hotel, because we understand this. It's quite easy to understand, yeah. But what are the first steps if they want to implement this? What do you think they should think about? Or
I think before even talking about feedback, you have to see which areas of your operations actually need assistance. And maybe it's actually your guest messaging that needs more help, right? So you have to understand which specific areas of my operations I need a hand with. But if it's with feedback, just start very small and start collecting data. Because then you can always annualize it manually somehow, or just have it displayed with nice colors. This was positive, this was negative, and it stay at this level. But once you have more capacity, then this data is so precious that you can just put it into any system and it's going to give you the insights. So I would just say, start monitoring this, looking at what's being said about you out there online also. It's good to collect your customers' feedback directly, but look at what being said out there about your business is very important. It's what people see about you. This is how they found you online as well. And this is how they decide if they're eventually going to book with you or the guy next door. And this is very important to monitor and always aim to improve, obviously, and generate content onto these open channels as well. Invite your guests to review you, especially when if they live your place of business with a smile on their face. Just tell them, hey, it'd be nice if you could talk about this on Google, because we can see that you're very happy, so it would help us so much. And they might not realize, but I mean, guests are very happy, would gladly do so. So yeah, start baby steps. That's my advice.
Précilia, thank you very much. Thank you. Customer Alliance. It's possible to ask you more questions if they like.
Of course.
They can mingle
Always.
with you. And you can show probably and make something out of
I
something.
can show.
Yeah, great. So, small break again, and then we start again. And the next session, thank you very much. The next session.